From the studios of Atlantic Television Network in Port Harcourt, this is ATN International News. First, the headlines. Migrants rescued from gas platform after 4 days. Little children raped during Sudan civil war, says UN. Measles cases in Texas rise to 159. Floods in Indonesia's capital displaced thousands. Guinea-Bissau's Sissoko to run for a second term. Charity vessel has rescued more than 30 migrants, including 2 children who had been stranded for 4 days on a gas platform in the Mediterranean off the coast of Tunisia, the Sea Watch organization said on Tuesday. This morning, Sea Watch's fast ship Aurora left the Italian island of Lampedusa to rescue them. Now the people are safe, assisted by our crew, it said in a statement. A reconnaissance plane operated by Sea Watch had spotted the group on the Miska platform on Saturday with an empty rubber dinghy floating nearby. The charity added that the migrants had been left exposed to the cold and without care for 4 days after the dinghy they were using to escape from Libya went adrift. Alarm Phone, a group that operates a helpline for sea migrants, on Monday said on X that it had spoken to the migrants on Sunday and been informed that 1 person had died and others were sick. European governments keen to curb irregular immigration have signed agreements with Tunisia and Libya that they will intercept and take back sea migrants despite criticism from human rights groups. 12 victims of a deadly blast at a rally last week in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo were laid to rest on Tuesday in a ceremony organized by newly appointed rebel authorities. The incident took place last Thursday in the city of Bukavu that has been under the control of Rwanda-backed M23 rebels since February. Congo's government and the insurgents traded blame for the attack. Witnesses said a grenade intended to hit a convoy of rebel leaders in the city's central square missed its mark. The explosion resulted in the deaths of 17 people, the new provincial vice governor, Dunia Masumboko, told reporters. 11 people died instantly and the others succumbed to their injuries in hospital, he said. At the funeral ceremony, residents sang and a priest sprinkled holy water on coffins. Women who lost husbands and sons in the attack grieved as the coffins were loaded in a truck and transported to a cemetery. Claude Balou-Leboimi said grenade explosions killed his older brother, Bruno, who has passed through the square where the meeting was held. At the moment, we are very worried. We ask our government to guarantee us peace. We plead with the government to help us. Let these killings stop. And Yarubasa told reporters. Congo's army said on Friday that Rwandan troops and rebels had fired rockets and grenades into a crowd gathered for a speech by one of rebel leaders. Rwanda denies supporting M23. The leader of a rebel alliance, Colonel Nanga, blamed President Felix Tshisekedi for the attack. The latest M23 rebel advance is the gravest escalation in more than a decade of the long-running conflict in eastern Congo, rooted in the spillover of Rwanda's 1994 genocide into Congo and the struggle for control of Congo's vast mineral resources and national identity. United Nations has launched an emergency appeal to raise $11.2 million to help fund Uganda's response to an Ebola outbreak that has killed 2 people after the country's health budget was strained by U.S. cuts to foreign aid. Uganda declared the outbreak of the highly infectious and often fatal hemorrhagic disease in January in the capital Kampala after the death of a male nurse at the East African country's sole national referral hospital. A second Ebola patient, a 4-year-old child, died last week, the World Health Organization said, citing the country's health ministry. Uganda's 10 confirmed cases have been linked to Ebola's Sudan strain, which does not have an approved vaccine. In a statement sent out on Tuesday, the UN said that funds would cover the Ebola response from March to May in 7 high-risk districts. The goal is to rapidly contain the outbreak and address its impacts on public health, as well as associated social economic life of affected people, said Kansundi Mwinga, Uganda representative for World Health Organization, WHO, a UN agency. Uganda has traditionally relied heavily on the U.S. for its health sector funding. During the last Ebola outbreak in 2022 to 2023, the United States provided $34 million to fund case management, surveillance, diagnostics, laboratories, infection prevention and control, among other activities, according to a U.S. Embassy report. But President Donald Trump's administration imposed an aid freeze, and U.S. funding to Uganda's health sector has been slashed, hitting the country's public health budget, according to government officials. Uganda's health ministry spokesperson Emmanuel Anebyumna did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Dr. Janet Diaz from the World Health Emergencies Program told a Geneva press briefing after a trip to Uganda that the agency was already having to temporarily take on aspects of the Ebola response previously done by other groups due to the U.S. cuts. This includes deploying surveillance teams at border points and the handling of biological samples. Ebola symptoms include fever, headache, and muscle pains. The virus is transmitted through contact with infected bodily fluids and tissue. The Tunisian political opposition say the charges are fabricated and a symbol of President Kais Said's authoritarian rule. Protesters gathered at the courthouse on Tuesday in support of the accused. Rights groups say the trial shows that Said now has full control over the judiciary. He dissolved the elected parliament in 2021 and began ruling by decree before later dissolving the independent Supreme Judicial Council. 40 people, including high-profile politicians, businessmen and journalists, are being prosecuted in the case, including more than 20 who have fled abroad. Politicians arrested in 2023 include Gazi Kawachi, Issam Chebi, Jawa Ben Mbrak, Abdelhamid Jazi, and Kiyam Toki. The former presidential chief of staff, Nadia Akacha, and former head of intelligence, Kamel Guizani, both of whom are abroad, are also among the accused. During the hearing, families of the detainees protested outside holding pictures of their loved ones. This is one of the darkest injustices in Tunisia's history, said Bazam Turfi, the head of the Tunisian Human Rights League. Most of the leaders of the political parties in Tunisia are in prison, including Abe Moussi, leader of the Free Constitutional Party, and Rachel Ratched Ghannouchi, the head of a Mada party, 2 of Said's most prominent opponents. The government says there is democracy in Tunisia, and Said says he will not be a dictator, but that what he calls a corrupt elite must be held accountable. Rwanda is asking Britain for a £50 million, approximately $63.62 million payment over a cancelled asylum deal, a source close to the government in Kigali said on Tuesday, after London paused some bilateral aid to the African country over the war in Congo. On taking office last July, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer scraps the prior Conservative government's asylum plan, under which Rwanda would have been paid to take in migrants who had illegally arrived in Britain. Incoming Interior Minister Vet Cooper said that month that the plan had already cost UK taxpayers £700 million. British government spokesperson said in an emailed statement, Cooper had been clear that Rwanda asylum partnership had wasted taxpayer money and should not continue. As stated clearly in notes verbal between the UK and Rwanda, no further payments in relation to this policy will be made, and Rwanda has waived any additional payments. The spokesperson said on Tuesday that a source close to the Rwandan government told reporters that Kigali was asking for £50 million over the cancelled agreement. Yolandi Makolo, Rwanda's government spokesperson, said the demand was driven by Britain's stance towards Kigali, including what she described as inflammatory comments by Britain's Minister for Africa. The UK had asked Rwanda to quietly forego the payments based on the trust and good faith existing between our two nations, Makolo said in a post on X late on Monday. However, the UK has breached this trust through the unjustified punitive measures to coerce Rwanda into compromising our national security, she added. Last week, Britain said it will pause some bilateral aid to Rwanda and impose other diplomatic sanctions over his role in the conflict in neighboring Congo, a move Kigali called punitive. Moroccan Appeals Court on Tuesday increased the jail sentence to 1 year against Moroccan activist Said Ait Mehdi, who led protests criticizing the government's response to a devastating earthquake in September 2023, his lawyer said. Ait Mehdi, who had been sentenced to 3 months in the first instance verdict, stood the trial behind bars on charges including spreading fake news and defamation in a lawsuit filed by local authority officials. The 6.8 magnitude earthquake, Morocco's deadliest since 1960, killed more than 2,900 people and damaged vital infrastructure in the Atlas Mountains. It destroyed many hamlets with traditional mud, brick, stone, and wood houses specific to the Amazigh-speaking Atlas Mountains. Mehdi is the leader of a group of quake victims which denounced dysfunction in aid distribution. The verdict will deepen the wounds and the suffering of the victims who undergo severe climate conditions of snowfall, rain and cold following the September 8th earthquake of 2023 and who are still sleeping in plastic tents, Ait Mehdi's lawyer Mohamed El Galousi told reporters. Earthquake victims have been receiving 2,500 dirhams, which is $250 per household, and 35,214 homes are being made ready, according to a Prime Minister's statement in December. On the first anniversary of the earthquake, the government said only 1,000 homes were built out of 57,000 destroyed in the quake. Overall, Morocco plans to spend 120 billion dirhams on a post-earthquake reconstruction plan that includes the upgrade of infrastructure over the next 5 years. Economic losses from the quake accounted for 0.24% of Morocco's GDP in 2023, or 3 billion dirhams, according to a study by the Policy Center for the New South. Children as young as 1 are being raped and sexually assaulted by armed forces in Sudan, where a bitter civil war has been raging for almost 2 years, according to a new report